FAB-Racing on the road to MotoGP.
Hello and good morning. This is live FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship action for 2019. It's Sunday morning and we are gearing up for the first set of races this morning. And our first race on the programme is AC40 Pros. It's their second race of the weekend because we had a round of racing on the Saturday. Hello and welcome to everybody tuned in live on Facebook, on Twitter, on all the social media channels. My name is Lester and we are very much live here at the circuit and we are gearing up for another set of amazing races. Our commentators, one of which is out in the next race, Blake Ansell, so he's not going to be commentating on this particular race, so he's preparing his bike. But we have Liam Hodgins, fresh from Scotland. Hello, welcome Liam.
Good morning Lester. Hopefully we're going to get some great FAB racing today. As we can tell, the AC40 Pros are out on circuit right now, making their way round the warm-up laps. So there was some great racing in yesterday's. Mason Foster took the spoils in that ahead of Clayton Edmonds and Samuel Munson. But the top riders for today, and Lester, I believe you've got the grid there.
Yeah, the grid as they're just making their way, as you say, round on the green flag lap. It's Mason Foster who lines up on pole position. Ethan Sparks will be in second place. Clayton Edmonds starts this race from third. The Munson burner, Samuel Munson, starts from fourth. Finn and Werity goes from fifth place. Henry McCartney in sixth. Cameron Sewell in seventh. Ruben Bray in eighth. Charlie Huntingford in ninth. Holly Harris looking to get higher up in the top 10. She starts in 10th place. Warwick Brady 11th. Keaton Payne in 12th. Kobe Perry in 13th. Greg Marshall in 14th. And last but not least, Aston Dean lining up on the grid in 15th place. You can hear them literally on the grid. And this is the championship where all the future BSB and MotoGP champions are going to be racing. So you will hear the future champions racing right here as we get ready for the start of the race, Liam.
Yes, absolutely. You can definitely feel the tension on the grid. The kids are ready and raring to go at the start of this. So Mason Foster is going to be leading it off pole position. Ethan Sparks alongside him. The flag is going to be going up in a few seconds, and it's a bit of a jump start from third place there, but we've got a fantastic start from Ethan Sparks in second, who takes the lead into turn number one ahead of Mason Foster. A bit of a jump start there from Clayton Edmonds there, so we'll see what happens to him. But once again, a nice wee clean start through the first couple of corners from the AC40 Pros, Lester.
Definitely, yeah, they're all away seemingly clean off the grid. And just to, I mean, Liam, you saw that alleged jump start. It's not being confirmed or anything, but yeah, I mean, sometimes these bikes do yeah,
especially when you're quite young, you've got the
eager
the
to get away. Let's say, I'm trying to be diplomatic, but yeah, the seemingly the top 4, 5 all seemingly somewhat spread out as they come down onto the Hangar straight at the moment, or the yeah, they're heading into the final corner.
Yes, we've got Ethan Sparks with a bit of a lead at the moment, pulled a bit of a gap ahead of Mason Foster. That's a few bike lengths right there, so he's had a fantastic first lap at the moment. Samuel Munson, the Munson burner, is in third ahead of Clayton Edmonds, so there's a 6/10 of a gap between Samuel Munson and Mason Foster, but leading away is Ethan Sparks by 0.8 of a second. Looking further down the field, we've got Henry McCartney across the line in 5th. Finn and Werity 6th place at the moment. Ruben Bray in 7th. Holly Harris is having a great wee start in 8th place. Cameron Sewell and Charlie Huntingford running at the top 10 for the moment, but as they come back towards the Dell chicane, Mason Foster has closed down our leader Ethan Sparks, coming down to the Hangar Straight, along the Hangar Straight now. And we've got a battle going on for third place. Samuel Munson and Clayton Edmonds, and we're going to get a move from one of them coming into the final hairpin. Clayton Edmonds looks up the inside but doesn't manage to take Samuel Munson into the final turn. But a fastest lap as we come across the line from Mason Foster at 53.1. That was half a second, Lester, faster than Ethan Sparks.
Yeah, we're keeping the close eye on the battle, as you say. Liam 4, third place, Sam Munson and Clayton Edmonds. Clayton Edmonds is seemingly all over the back of Munson at the moment, but it's a masterclass in defence from Samuel Munson at the moment, with the race only being relatively new, with quite a while to go yet, so this could be heating up to be quite eventful as the top two are closing in. And yeah, there seems to be all action getting ready as the top two seemingly closing up and heading into the final corner now. Mason Foster in second, Ethan Sparks leading as they come round the final corner over the line once again, and it is still Sparks with Mason Foster getting the fastest lap so far of this race, and still Clayton Edmonds trying his best to get past for third place.
It wasn't just Clayton Edmonds trying to get past for third place. Mason Foster made a move on Ethan Sparks into turn number 2. He didn't quite make it through, but he's looking very, so as we say, aggressive,
yeah.
Eager to get past Ethan Sparks into the turn number 2 corner on the track. Clayton Edmonds down the bottom of the circuit to try and make a move on Samuel Munson. Once again had to set up as Samuel Munson did clipped his door off a little bit. So as we head back down to the hangar straight, Mason Foster using all the track and trying a little bit more as we head down into Raymond's. We've got Ethan Sparks go defensive. We've got once again Clayton Edmonds looking up the inside of Samuel Munson, but not making the move stick as we head down into the first turn. Are we going to get a move from Mason Foster up the inside of Ethan Sparks? Yes, he's done it through the second turn. That is Mason Foster ahead of Ethan Sparks through turn number 2, the hook chicane. Clayton Edmonds didn't quite make a move on Samuel Munson there. Looking further down the field, we've got Finn Werity and Ruben Bray looking quite close, and Cameron Sill chasing down Ruben Bray. Now you might remember yesterday in race number 1, Ruben Bray and Cameron Sill did have a bit of an incident coming together, so fingers crossed lest that doesn't happen today.
Super clean racing so far in the front of this pack, and the change for position at the lead was done very, very brilliantly. So well done to Mason Foster for that, as he's still fighting up at the front at the end of the current lap as they cross the line. They're very, very close once again. I think this might actually be going all the way to the end of the race. So the battle at the moment very close between first and second. The battle between third and fourth very, very close indeed, and lots of fighting all down the pack.
Yes, absolutely. Ethan Sparks has responded to Mason Foster trying to pull a bit of a gap on him after he took the lead of the race. Clayton Edmonds is now up to third position ahead of Samuel Munson, so we're going to see a quick battle. We can see maybe if Clayton Edmonds can try and bridge the gap to second and first position, but once again we're coming through the hook, the chicane there onto the hangar straight, and we've got Clayton Edmonds bridging the gap to the first two, but we've got Ethan Sparks looking up the inside of Mason Foster, not making the move stick, but once again we've got a fantastic run out of the final corner. Mason Foster using a lot more of the circuit than Ethan Sparks, so he looks a lot less comfortable than Ethan Sparks might coming out of the hairpins onto the final straight. But looking further down the field, once again it's Cameron Sill and Ruben Bray who are continuing to battle it out there, Leicester.
Fastest lap on the last lap by Clayton Edmonds, a 53.027 seconds as he increases decreases the gap between himself and action all over the track. I see some marshals jogging towards a corner. What's going on, Liam?
Yeah, we've got a yellow flag down the bottom end of the circuit. Ryder is standing up and okay, looking to try and get the bike ready again. So that's quite good that we've got the rider up and okay. Once again, there's Ethan Sparks looking up the inside of Mason Foster, not making the move stick. There's a back marker on the way, but the back marker gets out of the way brilliantly there. It looks like it might be one of our top 4 that might have gone down. It was Clayton Edmonds. It looks like it might have been Clayton Edmonds that went down at the bottom end of the circuit. That's unfortunate, just after he set the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, we didn't see what happened, but according to the timesheets anyway, he is dropping down the order. So certainly it does seem to be in by process of elimination. But up front, Mason Foster still battling with Ethan Sparks. Less than half a second between them both. This is fantastic racing on the road to MotoGP and the partner series to BSB as well.
Yes, absolutely. Mason Foster around this second half of this lap here has increased the gap over Ethan Sparks. There's just over a lap to go. Mason Foster is holding a commanding lead at the moment. We should say commanding because he has opened up a few bike lengths over Ethan Sparks as he come across the line, and he's up to a second ahead of Ethan Sparks, but there's a back marker coming up now, so this might give Ethan Sparks an opportunity to try and close the gap down once again on Mason Foster around the bottom half of the lap here. Samuel Munson has got a comfortable third position, we should say, in the bottom end of the podium positions. Henry McCartney and Finnan Werity having a close battle, only 0.3 of a second between them as we enter the last lap. Cameron Sewell is closing the gap very quickly on both of them in 6th place, dropping Ruben Bray after he managed to take over 6th place a couple of laps ago. But further around the track, we've got Mason Foster still commanding this lead of the race as we run down into Raymond's hairpin, and it looks like we've got, if he stays on through the final turn, Mason Foster has stayed on very nicely, coming across the line to take the checker flag. It's Mason Foster winning the race ahead of Ethan Sparks, and Samuel Munson coming across the line now in 3rd place. That is our podium positions at the moment. Such a shame that Clayton Edmonds wasn't on there to try and see if he could bridge the gap to the top 3. Coming down, we've got a great battle for 4th place. That's Finnan Werity up the inside of Henry McCartney, and will he get the run back on the line? No, Henry McCartney once again across the line, and 4th position, Finnan Werity in 5th, and Cameron Sewell just missing out on a top 5 there in 6th position. Ruben Bray coming across the line on the 1-2-1 bike, and in 7th place, Charlie Huntingford, we're expecting to come across the line in 8th, and he does. Holly Harris is just trying to hold off Keaton Payne, so Holly Harris across the line in 9th place, and we're expecting a couple of battles further down. Here comes Keaton Payne and Cole Perry. Will Keaton Payne hold the top 10? Across the line, and we've got Clayton Edmonds managed to get back on track and taking a top 10 position on the final lap, so it's such a shame for Clayton Edmonds that he wasn't in the top battle for the podium positions there, but a great recovery into the top 10. Keaton Payne is in 11th, we've got Cole Perry in 12th, Greg Marshall 13th, Ashton Dean in 14th, and Warwick Brady finishing, but did not finish unfortunately outside the points there.
Well, it's fantastic action. Thank you very much to Liam Hodgins. And yeah, that was a brilliant first race for our live stream this morning. You are listening to live radio coverage of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Minibikes Championship live from Llandow in South Wales. My name is Lester, and we are all gearing up and just taking a bit of a breather before our second race this morning on the live stream. Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team race number 2 of the weekend.
Yes, it's going to be, it was a fantastic battle yesterday. There was 5 people battling it out for yesterday's race when we had Ben Bailey taking the spoils in the PB 140 class ahead of Harvey Claridge, only 0.8 further back. So in the last couple of laps they did kind of open up a bit of a gap. Blake Ansell, our very own commentator, Blake Ansell finished in 3rd yesterday, Jamie King in 4th place, and Matthew Bolsover taking the 5th position there. In the Moto Team class, it was Hudson Kenna. You might remember Hudson Kenna, who raced in the British Super Sport class and taking 2nd position there 10 years ago, back in 2008.
Your eyes lit up when you realised Hudson Kenna was actually on the grid.
I was a bit of a fan of his when I was younger. Simon Clowes finished 2nd in the class, 18 seconds further back, and Mark Pollitt managed to finish in 3rd place, 19 seconds further back of Hudson Kenna. So we've got the bikes lining up on the grid now, and we will see if Charlie Nesbitt's bike does manage to hold itself together for the start of this race today, Lester.
Indeed, yes, we're just getting ready. The bikes, as you can hear, are out on the grid and just ready to start their one warm-up lap. And it'll be Ben Bailey on pole position with Charlie Nesbitt in 2nd position. Although he looks to be wearing a bit of a jacket this morning. Maybe
it's a little bit chilly, Lester, that.
It is, certainly. And Matthew Bolsover in 3rd. Harvey Claridge is not in his grid slot at the moment, but Blake Ansell is. They head out onto the warm-up lap.
We appear to have someone out there. We're just letting them all go. It's number 12 who's letting them go at the back there. So that's Sean Whittaker, who crashed out of yesterday's race.
I see. So yeah, he had a bit of an issue getting away. In 6th place on the grid will be Jamie King. Hudson Kenna in 7th. Ian Jackson starts in 8th place. Jordan Smith in 9th. Simon Clowes will go from 10th place. Scott Dootson in 11th. Mark Pollitt On the grid in 12th place, Jordan Petit in 13th place, Bernie Hook in 14th, Sean Whittaker in 15th, Mike Carr on his bike in 17th place, Gary O'Keefe in 17th, Ben O'Keefe in 18th, and Daniel Gilbert in 19th, Neil Kinnaird 20th, Alistair Kinnaird in 21st, Roger Monks in 22nd, Felix Hearn in 23rd, big grid. 24th is Harrison O'Keefe, Keith Bolton in 25th position, Vince Bailey in 26th, and Trevor Jones rounding out the grid in a massive 27 bike field of wonderful sounding pit bikes.
Absolutely, Lester. Now we can see that Charlie Nesbitt has pointed his bike towards the first corner there, so there's a bit of an angle going on, as we can see from all the riders on the right hand side of the track. Now there's been a bit of an ongoing precedence this weekend with the bikes starting
to give a wave to some of the riders.
Some of the riders are waving
Focus
at us.
on the race, guys.
So people starting in second do tend to get a better start than the people in first. So as we await the start of the PB 140 and Moto Team race, the lights go out and the green flag down, but it's a fantastic start from Ben Bailey off pole position, and into second we have Matthew Bolsover. Charlie Nesbitt had a bit of a slow start there, he's dropped back into 4th place there, so once again he's getting further around the track than he did yesterday after his bike had a bit of an issue off the start. So it's Ben Bailey leading him round the bottom end of the circuit from Matthew Bolsover. I think it's Harvey Cloud. No, Harvey Cloud didn't make the start there. I think it's Blake Ansel, it might be further up the grid, but Charlie Nesbitt in 4th place there, Lester. There's a lot of bumping and boarding round the bottom end of the circuit. I
don't know if there might have been a pass for 1st place, or it might have been the condensation on our commentary box windows, but what do you see, Liam?
Oh, there was a bit of a moment from Matthew Bolsover, I think it was, coming out of the seat as they exited the hook, but he's managed to still stick in 1st place there as he head down.
Charlie Nesbitt has been dropped down to 4th place.
Yes, as they head into Raymond's, out of Raymond's hairpin, across the start-finish line, across the line here, it's Matthew Bolsover who's leading the way after a bit of a moment coming out of the hook. Ben Bailey in 2nd, Blake Ansel in 3rd place, Charlie Nesbitt 4th, and Jamie King in 5th place there. So not a great start for Charlie Nesbitt there, Lester.
Yeah, he sometimes decides to elect to start from the back of the grid and just see how well he can get on, but he's being pushed down the order. At the moment, he's down to 4th from 2nd. Jamie King, who was involved in that massive scrap in race 1 yesterday with Blake Ansel, amongst others, is also in the mix. I think the top 5 may be the ones to watch in this race.
Absolutely, maybe the top 5, maybe even the top 6, because there was 5 of them yesterday without Charlie Nesbitt. So now that Charlie Nesbitt is in the mix here, we could see even more riders. But as you say that, Lester, the top 5 have made a bit of a breakaway. It looks like maybe Matthew Bolsover is actually breaking away at the front of the field there. We could see a fastest lap coming in, a 50.5 from Matthew Bolsover, Bailey a 50.7, so opening up a 6/10 of a second gap. Blake Ansel all over the back of Bailey, with Charlie Nesbitt hounding the back of Ansel there as they come round the final, or the bottom end of the circuit. Further down the field we're having a great wee scrap for 7th position. Ian Jackson just holding off Jordan Smith at the moment, Lester.
Leader in the Moto Team class is Hudson Kenner at the moment, followed by Simon Clowes and Mark Pollitt. They are your top 3 in Moto Team right now, as a couple of riders. One rider goes into the pits with seemingly a problem. He was going slow on that last lap. Don't know who that was, but up front it is Matthew Bolsover who's stretching out his lead.
Yeah, we've just had number 21 coming back out onto the track there in front of the leaders. Matthew Bolsover extending the lead there. It's now up to 1 second ahead of Bailey. Ansel's dropped back. The back marker's getting in the way of the leaders through the hook. It's held up.
He's got in Blake Ansel's way.
Yeah, Charlie Nesbitt once again as well getting held up by that. So there was a bit of an incident there between the back marker, Blake Ansel, and Charlie Nesbitt. I think it's actually giving Jamie King a bit of an excuse to get through into 3rd place here. I think Jamie King's now in 3rd as they head round the bottom of the circuit. We'll see in a second. It is definitely Jamie King in 3rd place there.
Well, yeah, I don't know who it was, but they came out of the pits and unfortunately joined in front of this lead battle, which affected the lead battle, unfortunately. And it looks like Bolsover has Ben Bailey challenging him closer than he has been before. For 1st and 2nd, and Jay King up to 3rd place, but he's got Blake Ansel and Charlie Nesbitt breathing down his neck.
Yeah, absolutely. As you're talking about that, Ben Bailey has closed the gap between Matthew Bolsover. It was a second last lap. It's now 4/10 of a second. So Jamie King has got ahead of Blake Ansel into 3rd spot there. Blake Ansell still holding off Charlie Nesbitt. Hudson Kenna has actually made a bit of a move in the last couple of laps and has started to close down the top 5, so he is leading the Moto team category. Ian Jackson in 7th. Jordan Smith, there's a great wee battle going on between Ian Jackson and Jordan Smith, only 2/10 of a second as they come across the line. As the leaders come back down the back straight, it's still a 4/10 gap from Matthew Bolsover back to Ben Bailey. Is Blake Ansell going to make a move on Jamie King into the final corner? No, he's not. He looked at it, but he just held back there a wee bit, didn't he?
He's got to be very careful because he's got Charlie Nesbitt breathing down his neck, as we say, and Jay King under increasing pressure. He's going to be joined soon by Hudson Kenna, who's next on track, who is currently leading the Moto team class.
Yeah, he's leading that by quite a bit of the way. The next person in the Moto team class is Mark Pollitt in 11th spot, 2nd in the class, and Neil Kinnaird, 3rd in the class, but 13th on track there. So as the riders make their way down to the hook chicane, it's once again still Matthew Bolsover leading Bailey. It's only still about half a second of a gap, so it looks like the gap is remaining the same, but Blake Ansell looking to get a run on Jamie King as he head down to Raymond's. Is he going to look up the inside once again? Late on the brakes, and he's not gone for it again. So it was very close there for Blake Ansell, and we do have Charlie Nesbitt still sitting there in 5th spot.
New fastest lap from Ben Bailey, showing how much he is definitely pushing at the moment. Gap down to just over 4/10 of a second. He's in 2nd place at the moment and catching the leader.
Ben Bailey did look like he got a fantastic run onto the hanger straight last lap, so we could see maybe something getting lined up in the next few laps. There's still 6 laps to go, or 5.5 laps to go of this PB 140 and Moto team race here at Llandow. Now the gap has gotten a lot closer at the front once again. Bailey is definitely using a little bit of road and more. There seems to be a lock-up from one of the bag markers into the final hairpin.
Further down the action for 3rd place, and Charlie Nesbitt almost getting ahead of Blake Ansell, and the two of them allowing Jay King to just eke out his 3rd place, and Ben Bailey crossing that last lap in P1.
Yes, crossing the last lap in P1, so he's managed to get ahead of Matthew Bolsover. Jamie King still holding 3rd spot ahead of Blake Ansell and Charlie Nesbitt, who are having a fantastic ding-dong battle for 4th spot there.
And there's been a rider down at the chicane. Don't see who that is. He's picking his bike up. He is okay, but maybe it was someone further down the pack. Didn't quite see who it was, and we can't see from this angle.
They looked like there was a bit of an overtake into the hook hairpin under yellow flags. I think it was the leaders coming through the bag markers, pushed one of the bag markers out of the way, but once again that was yellow flags at the chicane there that they managed to overtake. Blake Ansell up the inside of Jamie King. Has he done it? He has done it. He might run wide on exit. That is 3rd place for Blake Ansell. Jamie King is being pushed back to 4th, but he's now got Charlie Nesbitt hot on the heels of him. So can Blake Ansell maybe try and bridge the gap to the leaders? It's going to be a tall order because he's 4.2 seconds back of Matthew Bolsover, Leicester.
Yeah, definitely. It's fantastic action already, and we've got 4 laps to go in this race. And Ben Bailey seemingly just increasing his lead at the moment. Last time around on the last lap, it was 0.2 of a second ahead of Matthew Bolsover, having got past him seemingly at the last corner. Leader in the Moto team class is Hudson Kenna, and Mark Pollitt in 2nd place. And we were I was wondering where Simon Clowes is.
We've just had a pass for the lead. Matthew Bolsover up the inside of Ben Bailey. Oh, and then touched coming out the final hairpin there as he head down to the hook once again. And we've got Matthew Bolsover still holding the lead ahead of Ben Bailey. We've got Jamie King all over the back of Blake Ansell, who was held up a little bit by one of the bag markers. And we've lost Charlie Nesbitt. Charlie Nesbitt is dropping down the order.
Something's happened to Nesbitt. He looks like he's still on track. Is he? Has he come through? We're looking for him.
Charlie Nesbitt's dropping down the order. Hudson Ken is now in 5th spot. Ian Jackson 6th. Jordan Smith in 7th. So we don't know what's happened to Charlie Nesbitt at the moment, though, if he's pulled into the pits. But we don't see any yellow flags out on circuit at the moment.
Well, I was looking for Simon Clowes on the timing, having been challenging for the lead in previous races. I can tell you, he's not on his bike. He is starting. Well, he is down at the start-finish straight, gesticulating at whoever maybe caused him to not be on his bike anymore.
Matthew Bolsover does get the lead of the race again. Ben Bailey did take it further around the lap somewhere, but Ben Bailey did try and go defensive into the final turn, ran a bit wide on exit, and we had Matthew Bolsover taking the lead with 2 laps to go. This battle for 1st spot is really hotting up, Leicester.
Definitely is. It's fantastic to see them interchanging positions all throughout the race. Blake Ansell down to 4th place, Jay King getting ahead. And they've got, they better hurry up as well, not hang around, because Hudson Kenner's only 3 seconds behind.
Yeah, Hudson Kenner's been making inroads into this battle for 3rd and 4th in the last couple of laps. So if he gets held up by any back markers any longer, something might happen. But once again, Matthew Bolsover looking behind him as they come down to hang straight, maybe just looking for a bit of an opportunity. He's got a run on
side by side over the line as they start the last lap, and Ben Bailey crossed the line in 1st place. So he got a better run out of the final corner, it seems, Liam.
Yeah, absolutely. The last couple of laps, Ben Bailey has been going quite defensive into the final turn, which has been making him run quite wide on exit.
Blake Ansell dropping down the pack, not seeing what's happened. He's pulled into the pits, in fact, so his bike problems continuing. Yeah,
unfortunately did have bike problems earlier on today, so I believe he has pulled into the pits, which is a lot of a shame, but we've definitely got a battle between the top two, pushing the back markers out of the way. It's still Ben Bailey ahead of Matthew Bolsover as he head down the hanger straight towards the final turn. Matthew Bolsover looks like he's just popping wheelies. Is he happy with 2nd place?
I think he's content.
Yeah, I think he is content. Not a good run onto the final turn. Across the line is Ben Bailey taking the win from Matthew Bolsover. A fantastic race by those two there. Across the line,
and in 3rd place, it'll be a fantastic podium.
And
for
he's doing
Jamie
the dab.
King.
He's doing the dab. We've had someone come off at the hook as one of the bag markers coming off, I think, after they crossed the line, which is a bit of a shame. But he's up, pushing the bike up. Looks like it might have been a high set. There's lots of broken windscreen on the circuit, but he's up and okay. Try to push the bike back. Hudson Kenner finished in 4th place. We've got Ian Jackson in 5th. Jordan Smith coming across the line in 6th place there. Across the line for Neil Kinnaird in 11th place, and we've got Mike Carr in 10th. We're just waiting for the last runners and riders to come through. We've got them coming across the line now. It should be John Petit in 7th. So waiting for Sean Whittaker and Mark Pollitt coming along across the line. We've got Sean Whittaker 8th, and Mark Pollitt will be in 9th place there. So once again, a quick rundown of the top 10. Ben Bailey 1st, Matthew Bolsover in 2nd, Jamie King doing the dab in 3rd, Hudson Kenner on the Moto Team bike, that is not the PB140 bike but the Moto Team bike, in 4th spot. Fantastic ride by him, top of the class. Ian Jackson 5th, Jordan Smith in 6th, John Petit in 7th spot, Sean Whittaker in 8th spot, Mark Pollitt in 9th, and Mike Carr rounding out the top 10, Leicester.
Wow, we almost need to catch our breath after that one, because there was action all down the pack, especially Moto Team, as Simon Clowes wheels his bike back to the paddock. Didn't see what happened, but he might have ended his race just in front and out of our view of our commentary position.
I think it was actually Mark Pollitt that went down in the last lap there, so he was the last person to come across the line, so he's just come across the line there, picking up the pieces of his bike that he needs, and he's making his way back round to the pits.
And there was some fantastic side-by-side battles on the last lap out of the final corner, especially from Neil and Alistair Kinnaird, and Ben and Harrison O'Keefe as well, so not showing too much brotherly love, if they are indeed brothers. I should preface that by saying they might just be total strangers, but yeah, I did notice that they were very close over the line, so yeah, literally all down the pack, lots of exciting racing action, and well done. We need a little breather after that.
Yeah, I can't wait for race number 3 now. That was fantastic action. I feel like I need a bit of a lie down before the start of the next race, which is going to be the Junior LC40 Elite class. And they gave us a bit of a battle yesterday as well, Leicester.
They certainly did, yeah. Junior LC40s and Elites, and the current champion, not here this year, Casey O'Gorman, last year's champion, and second in last year's championship. Bailey Stewart Campbell and Emmanuel Brinton doing so well, and this year's pack of fantastic young riders are on the grid at the moment, and they're just lining up, getting ready to start their warm-up lap, their one green flag lap. As we get ready to hear these fantastic little bikes And these are the proper little tiny mini bikes if you're listening for the benefit of the people listening on Facebook on our live stream. So in pole position for this race will be Johnny Garness, Sullivan Mounsey due to start off in second place, Josh Bannister in third, Mason Foster in fourth place, Ronnie Harris going from P5 on the grid, Emmanuel Brinton in sixth, Sam Munson in seventh, Ethan Sparks in eighth place. And then it's Cameron Sewell in ninth, Taylor Stewart-Campbell in 10th place, Charlie Huntingford in 11th, Ruben Bray in 12th, Keaton Payne, P13, Warwick Brady in 14th place, and Kobe Perry. Apologies if I've mispronounced your name. Is it Kobe or Kobe?
I think it's Kobe. Maybe Kobe.
Maybe he can come up later and correct us. But that is your grid for this second race of the weekend for Junior LC40 Elites.
Yes, we're looking back to yesterday's race. It was Johnny Garness who took the spoils ahead of Mason Foster. A bit of a dominant performance by Garness in the first race there, and Josh Bannister rounding out the podium spot in yesterday's action. Unfortunately, Sullivan Mounsey, who was in second there, did crash out of the action, but fingers crossed he stays on today, and we have lots of fantastic action from the Junior LC40 Elite class. Now the bikes are ready on the starting grid. The green flag has gone up, it's dropped, and we've got a great start from our pole setter, that's Johnny Garness, ahead of Sullivan Mounsey into turn number one. What a great start from Johnny Garness there. Already got a bit of a lead as they head through the hook chicane, Lester.
All cleanly away it seems off the line. That's what we want to see, is everybody I think settled down into the first lap, as you say. A good start by Johnny Garness, and Sully Mounsey will be looking to do maybe better than what he did in race number one as they come back into our view, into the back.
The Dell.
Yeah,
they're coming into the Dell in a second, and it looks like it might be Johnny Garness still ahead of Sullivan Mounsey. Mason Foster
very close.
in third spot. Yeah, very, very close there. As we come down the back straight, are we going to get a bit of a lunge? Yes, we are. That's a fantastic move from Sullivan Mounsey into the Raymond's hairpin, but once again ran a little bit wide. Johnny Garness across the line ahead of Sullivan Mounsey. Mason Foster in third spot. Josh Bannister and Emmanuel Brinton rounding out the top five at the moment, Lester.
Fantastic, and to see Johnny Garness getting the old switcheroo back on Sullivan Mounsey. It was great racing, great clean racing as well, which is what we want to see and hear. And Ronnie Harris down to sixth place, being the only person to lose a position on our timing screens on that lap. Oh, plus Warwick Brady as well. So it's all shaping up, I think, to be quite interesting in the maybe second part of this race.
Yeah, Sullivan Mounsey will be looking to make up for the accident that happened yesterday. He's got a fantastic run onto the hanger straight, but once again I think he ran a little bit too wide and given a bit of a gap to Johnny Garness, but he's hounding Johnny Garness more than what happened yesterday. There was a bit of a gap yesterday between the top two before Sullivan Mounsey did unfortunately come off. Looking up the inside into the hook and just holds back a little bit. So gapping third place Mason Foster, who's got a little bit of a gap in front of Josh Bannister and Emmanuel Brinton, who are definitely locked close together ahead of Ronnie Harris in sixth.
And Henry McCartney's just made up two positions on that final corner. In fact, he passed Ruben Bray and Cameron Sewell. So fantastic to see him making up a couple of positions. That is the fight for P10 at the moment. Yeah,
Ruben Bray and Cameron Sewell always seem to be locked together on any track in any class that they've been in this weekend. So they've definitely got a bit of action now. A lot bit of racing rivalry going on this weekend as the leaders come down at the hanger straight once again. It's still Johnny Garness ahead of Sullivan Mounsey, and Johnny Garness exiting the corner a little bit wide. Sullivan Mounsey getting a great run on him. Can he get him into the turn number one? Johnny Garness goes defensive as he knew that Sullivan Mounsey did try and look up the inside into the last lap there. So Mason Foster just dropping back slightly. We've got a pass into Raymond's hairpin further down the grid at the moment as he crosses the line. It's number 31 of Henry McCartney making up another spot ahead of Charlie Huntingford. So he's up to 9th spot now.
He's on a charge.
He absolutely is. So he's made up a few spots in the last couple of laps, Lester.
Yeah, definitely. And Emmanuel Brinton being a victim to a Ronnie Harris pass on that last lap over the line. And it looks like the top three are sort of bunching up together slowly, or the third, fourth, fifth are catching these top two who are squabbling amongst themselves and unable to make a position change at the moment. It's still Sullivan Mounsey in second position by less than 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, the lap times of that last lap were very, very close. 1:51.4 for Johnny Garness, a 51.5 Mounsey, and a 51.556 from Mason Foster. So the fastest one in that top 5 was actually Ronnie Harris in 5th place there with a 51.429, slightly faster than the leader and Sullivan Mounsey and Mason Foster, as the sun is now starting to come out. So the track might start heating up, Lester.
Don't jinx it, Liam. Don't. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. It is scheduled to be cloudy all day, is the official word from Michael Fish. He's been online
telling us how exactly. Cloudy it can be. So Mason Foster, I believe, has dropped further back. He doesn't seem to be in 3rd spot anymore. Mason Foster. What's happened to Mason Foster? Johnny Garness comes across the line in 1st spot. A bit of new fastest lap of the race for Johnny Garness, a 51.1. Sullivan Mounsey 2nd. Josh Bannister 3rd. Ronnie Harris 4th. So we have lost Mason Foster somewhere around the circuit. Somewhere Manuel Brinton in 5th spot. We're waiting for the other riders to come through the final turn. Raymond's hairpin, and it's number 72 Samuel Munson and Taylor Stewart Campbell. So we have lost Mason Foster somewhere. Can't see any yellow flags. I think I can see a rider walking down the bottom end of the circuit. I think that's where we've lost Mason Foster, Lester.
Unfortunate for Mason, but the battle continues up front, and it's still quite close. Well, actually, the gap between 1st and 2nd, Garness and Mounsey, is sort of increased a little bit, so the pressure is off Johnny Garness at the moment. Although, saying that though, well, I'm sure Sullivan Mounsey, yes, he is feeling the pressure, maybe, because the gap has increased now. Johnny Garness 1.4 seconds and just done the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yes, Sullivan Mounsey dropping back to 1.4 seconds further behind, so he lost 0.6 of a second on that lap. But Ronnie Harris has moved up into 3rd ahead of Josh Bannister, so there's a great wee battle going on for the final podium spot at the moment. Emmanuel Brinton in 5th spot at the moment. Samuel Munson 0.3 ahead of Taylor Stewart Campbell, so that's a battle worth watching for 6th spot. Cameron Sewell making his way up the field into 6th, just ahead of Charlie Huntingford, who's still just holding on the fringes of the top 10. So we're looking for the top riders in the class. Johnny Garness just comes across the line at 1:51.3. Sullivan Mounsey 2.2 seconds further back, so he's losing about 0.8 a lap to the race leader there. Josh Bannister is back ahead of Ronnie Harris. There's a great wee battle going on for 3rd spot, Lester.
Definitely is. It's Ronnie Harris and Josh Bannister. I think the fight might not be over yet, with 2 laps to go. He'll definitely want his 3rd place back, will old Ronnie Harris, but he'll have to fight for it.
Yeah, fight hard he will, because they've been scrapping for the last few laps, overtaking here, there and absolutely everywhere around this 1.1 kilometre circuit, 0.6 miles Llandow International karting circuit. So Johnny Garness is still holding a good bit of a gap. He's 2.2 seconds ahead of Sullivan Mounsey. It's a final lap now for Johnny Garness, who's showing commanding consistency in 1st spot. He was only 10th faster that lap, however, quicker than Sullivan Mounsey. Josh Bannister still ahead of Ronnie Harris, 0.2 of a second. That's a battle we're going to look towards on this final lap. Can Ronnie Harris overtake Josh Bannister and take the 3rd position and the final podium spot in this race? Emmanuel Brinton has a commanding 5th spot, but he has closed the gap down on the top of on 3rd and 4th in the last couple of laps. Taylor Stewart Campbell demotes Samuel Munson down to 7th spot, and Johnny Garness will be making his way round the final lap very shortly, and definitely keeping an eye on him. Into the final turn, here comes Johnny Garness into Raymond, and he will hold it for the 2nd win of the weekend. It's Johnny Garness once again popping a wee wheelie across the line. Fantastic ride from him. Sullivan Mounsey stays on this time and takes 2nd spot into the final turn. We have a battle going on across the line, side by side. It's going to be Josh Bannister. That was very close indeed. Only 0.07 of a second between them. Ronnie Harris in 4th spot, and Emmanuel Brinton nearly got them on the last lap in 5th place there. So we're waiting for Taylor Stewart Campbell across the line, and he will be finishing in 6th spot potentially there. So we've got the last couple of riders. We've got someone down at the final turn, just slipping off at the end there. That's unfortunate. Taylor Stewart Campbell and 6th. Samuel Munson coming across the line now.
That was Munson who had a little slide, but got back and finished the race.
And Henry McCartney over the line in 8th spot. Cameron Sewell 9th, so a fantastic ride from further back in the grid. And we're waiting for Charlie Huntingford rounding out the top 10 on the LC40 Elite class. And we've got a final rider coming across the line. That is Ruben Bray. So the top 10 was Johnny Garness, Sullivan Mounsey staying on for 2nd, Josh Bannister 3rd spot there, Ronnie Harris in 4th, Emmanuel Brinton 5th spot, Taylor Stewart Campbell 6th, Samuel Munson, the Munson burner in 7th, Henry McCartney in 8th, Cameron Sewell 9th, and Charlie Huntingford rounding out the top 10. Ruben Bray managed to finish 11th ahead of Warwick Brady, Keaton Payne, Kobe Perry, and unfortunately Mason Foster completed a few laps there but didn't manage to complete the race, but he was up and okay for everyone that was looking out for that.
So you are listening to live radio coverage of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, and we have live radio coverage online here at the track, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, on coolfabracing.com, and on Motorsport Radio, on the Motorsport Radio social media channels. So a big hello to everybody tuned in on any single... We're streaming so many places this weekend, and it is fantastic to have everybody tuned in. A big hello to William Birkin, who's tuned in, listening live, and to Ava Carter. Hello all, says Jenny Darter. Good luck to everyone in their races, she says. Especially to Josh Darter, former senior mini-moto rider and extreme CRF 150 rider there, spectating today. Josh Darter is, says Jenny. Neil Denham says, go Sparks. And we got loads of people tuned in. And we had lots of people as well, including people from Australia, as the first and second place riders have a little face-off on the front of the grid. The next race out on track is the senior mini-motos as they go out on their warm-up lap right now, and one of the most clicked race finishes of 2018, which saw the championship go viral.
Yeah, very viral. It's a video that I did manage to see eventually after I heard so much about it. But the riders are making their way around the green flag, the warm-up lap at the moment, and it's that man, Matt Birkin, heading off on pole position ahead of yesterday's race winner Bernie Hook. So those two are the class of the field at the moment. In 3rd spot we have Andy Whedon, and he'll be looking to improve on that. So he finished 3rd yesterday. Josh Birkin, who had a couple of wee offs in yesterday's race, heads off the 4th position. Simon Huntingford in 5th spot there. Chris Yeomans in 6th place there. Rob Petit we have in 7th. Craig Ashall in 8th spot. In 9th spot, on the 5th row of the grid, we have Ross Michael, Mitch Hollingsby in 10th spot. We've got Robert Kitley in 11th and Neil Skinner in 12th spot there, as the riders have made their way back onto the grid there, and we'll be looking for Matt Birkin and another Bernie Hook face-off for this race. So as the riders ready for the start of the race at the moment, they have the green flag ready. The green flag drops now, and it's a fantastic start by Bernie Hook once again. Matt Birkin a little bit slow off the line, and it's Bernie Hook into the 1st spot ahead of Matt Birkin through the Hook corner. So we've got a fantastic wee battle going on for the top spots at the moment, and Matt Birkin all over the back of Bernie Hook through the bottom end of the circuit as we've got them coming round. They've already opened up a couple of bike lengths gap over 3rd spot, which I think is Andy Whedon at the moment ahead of Josh Birkin. So they've remained in the same spots as they come through towards the Dell chicane, and it looks like we've got Bernie Hook opening up a bit of a gap over Matt Birkin through the Dell onto the hangar straight now, and we've got, yes, Bernie Hook is looking commanding in 1st spot at the moment ahead of Matt Birkin through into Raymond's hairpin, and we've got Bernie Hook across the start finishing line. As the lap has gone on, we've had him open up a few bike lengths, and we've got Andy Whedon still holding off 3rd spot ahead of Josh Birkin, Rob Petit in 5th, Chris Yeoman 6th, Craig Ashall at 7th, Simon Huntingford 8th, Ross Michael 9th, and Neil Skinner making up a couple of spots off the start of the grid into 10th spot. Robert Kitley and Mitch Hollingsby dropping a couple of spots off their starting positions. So it's a bit of a shame that they've dropped back. But once again, Bernie Hook is looking very, very commanding at the start of the race. But as I say, that's coming through into the Dale. Looks like we've got Matt Birkin closing the gap on him very, very quickly. So that's very good there. But we've got a couple of wee guests in the studio at the moment. We've got James Cook and Owen Mellor. So you might remember them from the Mini GP 70 race. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Yeah. How are you feeling today?
Alright.
So you are James Cook?
Owen Mellor.
You're Owen Mellor, and we've got James Cook next to you. How are you feeling today, guys? Has it all been good racing so far?
Yeah, we're doing good at the moment.
Yeah. Right, so you're both racing in the Mini GP 70. Who beat who?
Well, I crashed on the last lap, last corner.
Yeah.
In 3rd place. Because him and Bailey Stewart Campbell crashed final lap, final corner.
So there's a bit of a rivalry going on between both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are you expecting for your 3rd race today?
Hopefully a 3rd or a 2nd.
Not the race one?
Yeah, actually, I want to win as well.
Yeah, I want to win or get like a podium or something like that.
Win our podium, yeah. Got to try really hard. It's some great action you've been having out there. How has the track been feeling? Have you been enjoying it so far?
Yeah, I set my fastest time in the last race.
Yeah, I set my fastest one as well. I think it's a good track because it's tight, but it has quite a lot of track in it.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of corners definitely put into this one wee area of the circuit at the moment. We've just had someone go off the track at the moment, number 47. That was Simon Huntingford dropping down the field a little bit. Lester, you caught that just out the commentary box window?
Yeah, it looks like he just had a bit of a spill coming into or out of the final corner. Unfortunate for Mr. Huntingford, but he is back on his bike and he's racing again. The fight up front between Bernie Hook and Matt Birkin, closer than it has been in the past few laps, maybe. Mr. Birkin's lining up. They are side by side coming down the back straight into the final corner now, and it is Matt Birkin who ends up coming out of the final corner into the lead of this race, and Bernie Hook down. And I did say, Liam, that they were shaping up to be a bit of action, and well, they just right on cue. There we go. So a pass for the lead. Matt Birkin leading at the moment.
Absolutely. So we've got Owen Mellor and James Cook in the commentary box at the moment. How are you enjoying the racing action at the moment, guys?
Yeah, same as well.
Yeah, enjoying it. So who are you looking out for? Who's your favourite in this one so far? Matt Birkin, Bernie Hook, or maybe someone else? Or do you not tend to watch any of the other races?
I normally I don't really watch the senior mini motors that much.
Do you just prefer to wander around the paddock, just create a little bit of havoc?
Just to interrupt here, guys, there's been another pass for the lead, and it looks like he's trying to get the old cut back, but it is Bernie Hook who ends up in the lead, although not before Matt Birkin repassed him into turn 1. So yeah, they're swapping positions all the time up front.
It just looks like they're having a little bit of fun out there, Lester.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what FAB-Racing is all about. It's having a bit of fun, but some of the younger riders obviously taking it a bit more seriously. But yeah, these two are literally facing each other in the opposite way, heading each other off, squaring up to each other on the grid. So yeah, they having certainly a good time anyway. And yeah, they're being watched by future generations, and it's all looking pretty good. Owen Mellor listening to all of this, as is people at home, and Matt Birkin stretching out his lead so far.
He was stretching it out, but we've got Bernie Hook once again looking up the inside into the Hook chicane, just holding back a little bit, so it's very close between these two, as we've got 3 laps to go of this race. So as you said, we definitely do have some future stars here in the commentary box, Owen Mellor and James Cook. Guys, what are you looking for the rest of the season? How are you feeling for the rest of it? I know it's only the first round at the moment and you've got another race to go, but you're looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the whole season for the Cool FAB Championship.
What race are you looking forward to the most?
Wow, well, I think it's the 5th round at Liv. I've been there like a few times, and I think it's going to be good for like the mini GPs.
That'll be amazing, yeah. So we'll be looking out for you there. What about you, Owen? What are you looking forward to the most?
Hopefully, like, third in the championship or second, and it would be good for me because I've not really had like a chance to be up in the top 3 last year because I crashed a few times, and it's just part of learning. So
absolutely. So it's just ironing out those wee crashes and challenging for the championship this year.
yeah.
So we'll be looking out for your progress, guys. Thank you very much. We'll be hopefully getting you back up in the commentary box a little bit later on in the season. Would you come back up?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much to Owen Mellor and James Cook. We'll be hearing more from them. Best of luck for the rest of the weekend, guys. So we've still got the Mini Moto senior race with 2 laps to go, and it's still a fantastic battle between Bernie Hook and Matt Birkin. There's a couple of bike lengths between it, but it looks like Matt Birkin might have just opened up a slight gap, but going defensive into the final hairpin has given Bernie Hook a bit of a chance to try and close the gap back up as we approach the final lap into the Hook chicane. It's still Matt Birkin ahead of Bernie Hook. In third spot we have a very, 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 very good battle between Josh Birkin and of course Andy Whedon. So Josh Birkin comes across the line. Robert Petit has moved up to 4th. Andy Whedon has dropping down the order. He's in 5th. Chris Yeomans comes across the line in 6th. But around the final part of this lap, it is still Matt Birkin ahead of Bernie Hook as we head down towards the Dell chicane. And now we could, Leicester, be looking for a bit of a defensive move from Matt Birkin, trying to hold off Bernie Hook.
Bernie Hook, of course, putting on a fantastic battle all throughout this race. They're coming down the I thought it was called the Spitfire Straight, but they're into the final corner now. And Liam, what's going to happen?
It looks like we've got Matt Birkin he's nodding his head in delight as he comes across the line to take the win ahead of Bernie Hook. That was a fantastic race for a first spot, and it was quite good because Matt Birkin did have a bit of an issue yesterday. A few other riders coming into the final hairpin. A little bit of a look we've got across the line is going to be Josh Birkin ahead of Robert Petit. That was a fantastic wee battle towards the end. Andy Whedon in 5th spot there, Chris Yeomans in 6th spot, and Simon Huntingford we will be expecting to come across the line in a few moments time as he comes through the final hairpin there. And after he had a little bit of trouble, he pops a wheelie, nearly loses it as he comes across the line. Simon Huntingford in 7th spot. So as a quick rundown of the runners and riders, it was Matt Birkin ahead of Bernie Hook by only 0.2 of a second. Josh Birkin in 3rd spot, Rob Petit in 4th, Andy Whedon 5th spot, Chris Yeomans in 6th, Simon Huntingford in 7th, Craig Ashall comes across the line in 8th, Ross Michael 9th, Neil Skinner in 10th, and Robert Kitley in 11th spot there. Unfortunately we had Mitch Hollingsby, our only retirement of the race after only 6 laps, Leicester.
Wow, again, another titanic battle up front, providing brilliant action for the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship action. Thank you very much for everybody who's been in touch online, to family members listening back home. Debbie Birkin says, come on Matt Birkin. And Lynn Marriott says, fantastic Matt Birkin, well done. Cal White says, great result for both Birkins, well done boys. And yeah, more congratulations coming in for the Birkins. So a lot of support, and don't forget to share the live streams, which are on Facebook, on Twitter, everywhere, on Cool FAB-Racing and on Motorsport Radio as well. Don't forget the website address as well. It's coolfabracing.com and motorsport.radio. They are the places to be this year. And also, if you want to go back and listen to an audio version of your race, because we're streaming live exclusive coverage all season of every single race on the Saturday, even some of your qualifying rounds as well. If you want to go back maybe and see just how well we commentated on your fantastic victories, then you can go and check it out on Spotify, on the Apple Podcast app, or on the Google thing as well, the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from.
Which will be absolutely everywhere in this day and age. Exactly,
so there's no excuse not to keep up with the latest Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship action. Alright, next out on track, it is the AC40 Rookies. And they are out on the grid at the moment, just about to start their green flag lap. And, well, it was some fantastic action in yesterday's race. Blake Wilson winning the race with Ollie Sims and Luke Fitchett in the podium positions. And Lining up in pole position for this race, Archie Gibbs. Ollie Sims will start from second place. Luke Fitcher in third. Blake Wilson will go from fourth place. William Harris will go from fifth place on the grid. Harrison Day in sixth. Brandon Keane in seventh place. Marco Holt in eighth place. Arnie Carr in ninth. Casey Sperry, sorry Casey, he corrected us on his pronunciation.
Yeah, he told us yesterday we can't get that wrong anymore, Lester.
Casey Sperry, sorry Casey. In 10th place, he will start this race. Harry Payne in 11th. Josh Williams in 12th. Jacob Stevenson in 13th place. Luke Hutchinson in 14th. In 15th place is Jacob Stevenson. And 16th place, Luke Hutchinson. Foley Fevereau in 17th, Archie O'Brien in 18th, Wilson Dilks in 19th place, Bailey Lawrence will start from 20th, 21st will be Callum Maxwell, 22nd it's Noah Guillory and Chloe Sewell rounding out the grid at the moment, so things can only get better for Chloe. As Archie Gibbs and Ollie Sims lined up on row number 1 as we begin to get ready for this race. As tension mounts, final few words from some of the dads on the grid. Just wishing their riders good luck. Liam?
Yeah, absolutely. As the race gets underway, and then they're trying to get some heat into the tyres, revving up the bikes, pulling the back end up, getting some heat into the tyres there. The green flag is out there and ready, so we're going to get all the riders. One of the dads just finally coming off the grid to talk to his kid there. Green flag is up and it's down. It's a great start. I had to push the bikes off the grid there. It's a fantastic start from third spot there, and we have Luke Fitcher into first spot into the hook ahead of Archie Gibbs and Ollie Sims. So Luke Fitcher off the third spot there, having a great start through the first couple of corners and into the top spot. So we've got a massive grid here of 21 riders. So I think it's the biggest grid we've got all weekend, Lester.
Something like that, yeah, definitely is a lot of action, very close up front. I'm trying to get a vantage point from our commentary box here. It's difficult to do from our point of view as they go out of our sights down some of the furthest parts of this Llandow circuit. But the top 4 all in a pack at the moment together, very close.
Yeah, the top 4 have had brilliant first lap and bridged a gap of around about 2 seconds ahead of 5th spot, but once again it looks like it's Luke Fitcher in first spot ahead of Archie Gibbs and Ollie Sims as they come across the line to complete lap number 1. We have in first spot, it's in actual fact it was Blake Wilson who I missed out there. Luke Fitcher, it wasn't Blake Wilson, it was in fact Blake Wilson who got the fantastic start off of 4th on the grid. It wasn't Luke Fitcher. Archie Gibbs in 2nd, Ollie Sims dropped down to 3rd, Luke Fitcher in 4th, and William Harris completing the top 5 for the moment, but a massive gap of 2.8 seconds between Luke Fitcher in 4th and William Harris in 5th. So as we look towards the start of lap number 2, as they come around the bottom end of the circuit, the top 2 look like they've made a bit of a gap. So that's Blake Wilson and Archie Gibbs, Lester.
Yeah, I was just trying to have a look at the front leading battle to see just how close they are. And second place Archie Gibbs, who crossed the line in second on the last lap, breathing down the neck of Blake Wilson for first, as they're all seemingly a little bit spread out heading into the final corner on this second lap. And it's actually the third place Ollie Sims who seems to be getting a better run out of the final corner.
Yeah, but Archie Gibbs went defensive. I said went defensive. It looked like he would try to make a move on Blake Wilson going into the final turn. He'd done that quite a lot yesterday. He tended to take quite a tight line going into the final hairpin, which made him go out quite wide coming out of the hairpin and along the straight. So Ollie Sims will be looking to take advantage of that if Archie Gibbs continues to run wide coming out the final turn onto the start-finish straight. But it looks like Blake Wilson is still holding the lead through the bottom end of the circuit, trying to get a vantage point. The top 3 have closed up, leaving a bit of a gap back to Luke Fitcher. So he'll be looking to try and bridge that gap within the next couple of corners. And the top 3 are nose to tail. You can barely even put a bit of paper in between them, Lester.
Definitely very close, and they will be. There's definitely a lot of action brewing here on this lap with 6 to go, and second place man Archie Gibbs.
Archie Gibbs is going for it. He's going for it up inside, pushed Blake Wilson wide. There's a 3 abreast as they come across start finish line. It's still Blake Wilson holding it from Archie Gibbs, Ollie Sims and Luke Fitcher, who's closed the gap up because of that manoeuvre. So Blake Wilson very brave around the outside to try and hold off Archie Gibbs.
And it was fastest lap, incidentally, by Archie Gibbs as he tried to make that lunge, taking the fastest lap. He seems to have a really great run out of that final corner every time.
Yeah, absolutely. So Archie Gibbs is still hounding the back of Blake Wilson for the top 4 positions. We've got some of the riders coming past us right now at the bottom end of the table, and I think it was Chloe Sewell was going for a wee gap there on one of the bottom people. So it's a great wee battle further down the field there, but as they come through the Dale, it's the leaders once again onto the Spitfire Straight, I think it's called, or is it Hanger Straight? It was one of the two, but Archie Gibbs has had a bit of a nightmare coming onto the straight. It's got Ollie Sims all over the back of him, and around the outside is Ollie Sims late on the brakes. A fantastic move on Archie Gibbs round the outside into the final corner there, and he's now up to second spot. So it's Blake Wilson ahead of Ollie Sims. Archie Gibbs has been pushed back to third spot. Luke Fitch is still holding on in fourth position there. A lonely ride by William Harrison, fifth at the moment, but sixth spot, Harrison Day and Brandon Keane are scrapping it out for the bottom end of the top 10 at the moment. Coming across the line is still Harrison Day ahead of Brandon Keane by only 0.04 of a second, Lester.
Yeah, Ollie Sims again getting another fastest lap on that lap as one rider either rejoins the race or joins the race for the first time. Some of the other battles further down the order. In fifth place, William Harris is being chased by Harrison Day, who has Brandon Keane all over the back of him at the moment out on track. Marco Holt is in 8th place, Arnie Carr in 9th, Harry Payne in 10th, Josh Williams 11th, Max Werity in 12th place.
We've got Ollie Sims round the outside of Blake Wilson into the final turn. He's done it, and we've had Archie Gibbs nearly run into the back of Blake, but once again he's come down the straight and back markers in the way. Fantastic move by Ollie Sims, once again making up another spot round the outside of a rider. This time it was Blake Wilson. Archie Gibbs tried to go up the inside of Blake Wilson, ran over the curbs, had to run wide and dropped down to fourth. Luke Fitch taking advantage of that. William Harris still in fifth spot. This is shaping up to be a really close and exciting race.
Almost side by side over the line. They were coming out of the final corner, and yes, the top 4 still, I think something's got to give here, because they're either going to cross the line, over the line, the finish line as a foursome together, or something is going to, I don't know, maybe you get that feeling, don't you, I think?
Yeah, I get the feeling that there might not be any of them finishing off this race here, but fingers crossed it all stays quite clean.
And there's a yellow flag down at the part of the circuit that we cannot see, so no idea who that is, but we will just wait to see. But up front, back at the final corner though, it's seemingly somewhat spread out in between the top 2, although Ollie Sims crosses the line, Blake Wilson in second, Fitchett and Gibbs very close, fight for third at the moment. So yeah, it looks like the natural order of things is starting to shape out and shake itself together. Ollie Sims has a 0.7 second advantage now over Blake Wilson.
I want to just give you a bit of an update on the rider who went down. It looked like the rider did get back on the circuit, so the rider seemingly okay from there, which is all good. So it's quite good that they're back on track and back in the race. Not quite sure who it was. So there's a lap and a half still to go of this AC40 Rookies race number 2, race number 1 for the day, race number 2 of the weekend, and it's Ollie Sims holding a commanding lead ahead of Blake Wilson at the moment. But as I say that, it looks like they've closed the gap down again. So it looks like they've closed the gap once again as we head through into the last lap and a bit. So as we come across start-finish line, it's going to be Ollie Sims ahead of Blake Wilson, and we're going to see a fastest lap possibly. Yes, it is Archie Gibbs at 57.6. They must have been held up by a bit of bag markers there, because he was nearly a full second quicker than Ollie Sims and Blake Wilson, Lester.
Yeah, I'll notice further down the order as well, it's Max Werity making the moves. As well, further down the order, that was a fight for 11th place. He's fighting with Josh Williams at the moment, and yeah, we're on the last lap at the moment, so anything could happen, as Luke Fitchett lost a spot down into fourth as they're
yeah, Archie Gibbs went for a move into the bottom end of the circuit there on Blake Wilson as they come through the Dell chicane, making their way through diggers onto the Spitfire straight. This could be a lunge from Blake Wilson, but as we know, Ollie Sims is fantastic on the brakes into the final turn. Blake Wilson's looking up the inside of Ollie Sims. Ollie Sims is holding him off into the Raymond's hairpin for the final time out of the final turn. This is going to be Ollie Sims taking his race win ahead of Blake Wilson, Archie Gibbs in third, and Luke Fitchett in fourth spot, 1.2 seconds, covering the top four. Fantastic action from the top four there, as William Harris coming around the final bend at the moment to take fifth spot. A very lonely but a fantastic ride by him as well. So that's the top five for the moment as we await the rest of the runners and riders coming through the final couple of corners. So it's going to be Harrison Day and Mark Holt we're looking for next, as we've got a couple of lunges into the final turn further down the order. It's going to be a fantastic race as they come across the line here, and we're looking at it's going to be Harrison Day holding off Marco Holt and Arnie Carr in 8th spot, Harry Payne 9th, and Joshua Williams in 10th spot. I'll give you a quick rundown of the top runners, as we've had a crasher on the final lap down at the hook after the race is done. So the rider is up and running back to the bike, seemingly okay. So Ollie Sims takes the race win, head of Blake Wilson, Archie Gibbs, Luke Fitchett in 4th, William Harris in 5th, Harrison Day 6th, Marco Holt in 7th, Arnie Carr 8th, Harry Payne in 9th, and Joshua Williams rounding out the top 10 for race 2 of the Junior AC40 Rookies. Stick around in Cool Fab Radio and live radio streaming. We will be back right after this break.
There's loads of ways to follow the racing this season. Tune in live on the Cool Fab Racing Facebook page, on Twitter and on YouTube. Listen on motorsport.radio and on coolfabracing.com.
Loads of action on social media. Thank you very much for spreading the word and letting everybody know that we are live with radio coverage. I keep emphasising the radio part because we are live, and we have, again, live season-long coverage of the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. Hello to John O'Gorman, who's tuned in and checking out how Casey's former rivals are getting on today in some of Casey's former classes, and Casey O'Gorman, the current Mini GP70 champion and the LC40 Elite champion, as well as being champions of other things as well. So hello to John. Jake Carter's been on and said good luck, Archie, from Izzy Carter. And Peter Ansell, regular listener to our live radio coverage here, he's tuned in and he's listening. Also, back listening once again is Helen Hill, and we've had lots of people listening from all over the world, including yesterday from Australia as well. So, truly an international audience. Maybe, just maybe, Liam, somebody from Dorna is tuned in and thinking, you know, that quick kid who just dominated that race there, maybe they're good enough for a run in British Talent Cup, maybe.
Well, there's a lot of talent out here at the Cool Fab Racing at Llandow here in south of Wales, so hopefully there's a few Dorna people tuned in, listening to the live radio coverage and checking out the talent that is out on the grid at the moment, because hey, we've got a lot of great racers here, and a few of them waving up at us here in the commentary box. And we've got the Mini GP50s out on track at the moment, just starting the green flag warm-up lap. They've set off very, very fast. They're very eager to get away there, and it was Josh Bannister who took the race win yesterday ahead of Ryan Hitchcock and Harrison Crosby. And Lester, you've got the starting grid for today's race.
Yeah, it is Josh Bannister who starts on pole position for this race. Kyle Payne lines up alongside him on the first row in second. Lucas Brown in third. Harrison Crosby will get away in fourth place. Ryan Hitchcock due to start in fifth. Mason Johnson in sixth place. Sullivan Mounsey in seventh. Ollie Walker due to start from eighth on the grid. Clayton Edmonds goes away from ninth place. Ronnie Harris in 10th. Ollie Horner in 11th. Jimmy Parker will begin this race from 12th place. Taylor Stewart Campbell in 13th place. Harrison McKay in 14th place. Ben Jolliffe in 15th. Finn and Werity in 16th. And Warwick Brady maybe looking to come from the back of this pack to maybe win a race, old Warwick. So that is the grid as they are back on the start grid as we wait for the start of this Mini GP 50 race.
Yes, Josh Bannister just pulled up to his #1 spot there, slamming on the front brakes. So he's looking very confident, ready and raring to go. So further back, there's just a couple of riders just pulling up to the grid. Last couple of pep talks before we get started off here, clapping of the bikes, telling them to get ready and go. So the green flag is going to go up any second now, and it's down, and away we go. And it's a fantastic start by Kyle Payne, who jumps Josh Bannister off the start of the grid. So it's going to be Kyle Payne into turn #1 ahead of Josh Bannister, and he's already pulled out a couple of bike lengths in front of Josh there. So fantastic start for Kyle Payne through the start of this lap, looking further down to the bottom end of the circuit, and it is definitely Kyle Payne pulling out a bit of a gap ahead of Josh Bannister there. So not only did he get a fantastic start, he's also getting a fantastic first lap through the bottom end of the circuit there. And I think it might be Lucas Brown in third spot ahead of Harrison Crosby, but we're going to have to wait for them to come across the line to be sure, to double check that's the case. As they come down on to the straight towards the end of the lap, it's still Kyle Payne ahead of Bannister, and we've got a bit of a gap opening up between the top 5, dropping back the 6th spot, who's got a bit of a gap ahead of 7th. Across the line, and it's going to be Kyle Payne in first spot ahead of Josh Bannister, Harrison Crosby in third, getting ahead of Lucas Brown, Ryan Hitchcock 5th, Sullivan Moundsey, a great start from him, and to 6th spot there, Mason Johnson 7th, Ollie Walker 8th, Clayton Edmonds 9th, and Ronnie Harris in 10th spot there. So some riders moving up, Leicester, some staying where they were.
Definitely interesting to see how everybody sort of shuffles through and kind of tries to settle down. And it was a very impressive first lap by Kyle Payne, getting an almost 8/10 of a second head start. Not head start, but an advantage over Josh Bannister, who's down to 2nd at the moment. But as they come down the back straight into the final turn, it looks to me, Liam, that 8/10 of a second advantage is down a little bit.
Yeah, Josh Bannister is definitely bridging the gap back to Kyle Payne. He's dropped the rest of the group now, and fastest lap of the race by Josh Bannister. He was 4/10 of a second quicker than Kyle Payne on that previous lap. The gap is down to 3/10. I say 3/10, it looks like 1/10 of a second now as they come through the hook chicane. So it's Kyle Payne ahead of Josh Bannister, and they're leaving Harrison Crosby, Lucas Brown and Ryan Hitchcock to contest the final podium spot.
As they go through our part of the circuit that we struggle to see from our vantage point in the Llandow commentary box. Top 2 very close together now.
Yeah, very close together as they come back through Diggers onto the Spitfire Straight. We've got Josh Bannister using a lot of track, looking up the inside of Kyle Payne and late on the brakes, but it's still Kyle Payne who's a little bit later, and in 5th spot we had Ryan Hitchcock very late on the brakes, trying to make up a lot of ground, the number 43 rider there. And as they come in the final lap, I say they were bridging the gap from 2nd to 3rd, but extending the gap, they're actually bridging the gap. So it looks like Harrison Crosby has closed the gap a little bit on Josh Bannister and Kyle Payne in the top 2 there. So it's great battles all the way down the field as we look towards the bottom end of the top 10. We've got Ollie Walker, Clayton Edmonds battling out for 8th spot there. We've also got a fantastic battle between Jimmy Parker, Harrison McKee, Taylor Stewart Campbell and Ollie Horner, all battling out for 11th spot. So there's 4 riders there, all and with a chance of getting that 11th spot, or if something happens to one of the other riders, maybe getting a top 10 as the leaders come down towards the final turn once again. And it was Josh Bannister looking up the inside of Kyle Payne, but holds back a little bit. Kyle Payne still holding lead as they come across the line with 7 laps to go of this race.
Lucas Brown over the line and losing a spot, according to the timing, to the advantage of Ryan Hitchcock, who's moved up to 4th place according to our timing screens. And yeah, Kyle Payne, it looked like on the previous lap getting a bit of a wobble coming out of the penultimate corner, and that's why they seem to be a bit of a challenge for the lead by Bannister, but they are due to re-enter our field of vision any moment now. And well, the gap on the last lap was less than 1/10 of a second between the top 2, and now it looks like a battle between the top 5 again.
Yeah, it looks like Josh Bannister has got into the lead of the race. He has done as he head down to Raymond's hairpin. So he's got the lead of the race further around the track somewhere, and kind of build a bit of a gap ahead of Kyle Payne. Come across start finish line. It is Josh Bannister ahead of Harrison Crosby. 7/10 of a second he's pulled out in that one lap after he got the lead of the race. Kyle Payne has dropped back down to 3rd spot, so he's lost 2 positions on that previous lap there, Leicester.
Yeah, Harrison Crosby and Kyle Payne crossing the line almost neck and neck, really, on that last lap. But it's Harrison Crosby up to second position, and best time.
Yeah, just looking at the bottom of the circuit there was a couple of riders side by side going into one of the corners. The vantage point we can't see through the motorhomes and the caravans, so it looked like there was a bit of ding-dong battle going on through the bottom end of the circuit there, and the leaders are coming back onto the home straight, and it looks like Harrison Crosby is bridging that gap back to Josh Bannister in second spot. So the top 5 are closing back up again. It's a bit like a yo-yo effect. If one pulls away, one closes back up again, so it's a fantastic battle going on there. Now if you look, you think you might see a Jorge Lorenzo type number plate out there. It's actually Harrison Crosby. It's not 99.
Oh, I was getting mistaken for that. That's 69. What it was.
Yeah, I was getting mistaken as well. So I just confirming that for anyone else that might have been getting mistaken by that as well. exactly. So yeah, fastest lap on the last lap by Ryan Hitchcock. He has just slammed in a 50.589 second lap, and he's trying his best to get past Kyle Payne, who is currently in third. Ryan in fourth at the moment, as the top five still glued together as they come back onto the back straight. Yes, we've got Ryan Hitchcock dropping further back. Kyle Payne, sorry, dropped further back. We've got that's Lucas Brown up the inside, late on the brakes, backing in a little bit. Fantastic move there, but he's dropped back to fifth spot. So coming across the line, Kyle Payne, Lucas Brown. It was a great wee battle there. Lucas Brown did manage to hold the advantage for a mere couple of seconds ahead of Kyle Payne. Mason Johnson and Sullivan Moundy battle out for a sixth spot there. Ollie Walker 8th, Clayton Edmonds still in 9th, and Ronnie Harris still holding 10th. But further down the order, still a fantastic battle going on between Taylor Stewart Campbell, Harrison McKay, Ollie Horner and Jimmy Parker, all battling out for the 11th spot. I say that Taylor Stewart Campbell has just got ahead of Harrison McKay further around that lap there, so they're definitely going to be scrapping out for the rest of the race as they come back onto the Hangar Straight, or the Spitfire Straight as you want to call it, and the top three have pulled a bit of a gap ahead of fourth and fifth. Round the outside once again. He's down. He's down. That's Lucas Brown. He's gone down. He was too late on the brakes there, too hard there. So once again, he's up. He's okay. He's picking the bike back up. So fingers crossed he can get back in the race there. He has done. So he'll be coming across the line if he can get the bike started again, out just outside the top 10. So that just leaves four battling out for first to fourth, and they're coming through the bottom end of the circuit, and it's still Josh Bannister in the lead of the race, Lester.
Not sure if he perhaps sort of scared himself into having a bit of a spin, because the guy in front of him almost touched wheels with the I think it was the second place rider as well, but the top four close.
Yeah, we've just had a change of the lead, Leicester, going into the Dell. I think that was Harrison Crosby getting ahead of Josh Bannister. It was, so Josh Bannister looking back up the inside into Raymond's, does hold back a little bit, so it's still Harrison Crosby in the lead of the race as they come across the line. With 2 laps to go, we're on the penultimate lap now. This is going to be one that's going down to the wire.
Well, let's hope so. That's what we like, a grandstand finish here at the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. And yeah, the top 4, as you say. Shame it's not a top 5 grandstand finish, but still lots of battling all the way through this field. Still, the other closest gaps further down the field, Mason Johnson and Sullivan Mounsey having a pretty epic battle for 5th place at the moment, as is Ollie Horner and well, Harrison McKay over the line with less than half a second between them. That's for 12th place.
Yeah, the leaders have come onto the back straight once again. Josh Bannister looking up the inside. Once again, he's not late on the brakes enough. As Harrison Crosby still holding that gap as they come through the final turn to approach the final lap of the race. Josh Bannister up the inside into the hook, and he's done it. But we've got a fantastic manoeuvre there by Josh Bannister. Took the lead, but Harrison Crosby wasn't giving up. He rode around the outside and held the lead through the second part of the hook chicane. This is a fantastic battle, Lester. We're going to see this go all the way to the final corner.
You've got to be very careful by taking the I think you've got to line up the move a few corners before, i.e. coming out of the last corner. Pass.
No, Josh Bannister looked up the inside of Harrison Crosby at the bottom end of the circuit, but once again Harrison Crosby did chop his nose off. So as they come onto the Hangar Straight for the final time, or the Spitfire Straight as you want to call it, it looks like Harrison Crosby does have a bit of an advantage, but once again Josh Bannister looking around the outside. We've got a move for 4th spots. Kyle Payne up the inside of Ryan Hitchcock, ran a little bit wide. Ryan Hitchcock sets it back up, but once again it's Harrison Crosby across the line, taking the win ahead of Josh Bannister by only 0.05 of a second. Ryan Hitchcock in third spot. Kyle Payne just missing out on taking the final podium position. Sullivan Mounsey and Mason Johnson come across the line side by side. Sullivan Mounsey in 5th, Mason Johnson 6th. We've got Ollie Walker coming across the line in 7th, Clayton Edmonds in 8th spot there. Great ride by Clayton. Ronnie Harris in 9th, and Taylor Stewart Campbell could be coming across the line in 10th spot, but he's in a bit of a battle for the bottom end of the top 10 at the moment. So there's a few riders coming around the circuit, and it looks like we've had one of the riders just having a... So Taylor Stewart Campbell comes across the line in 10th. Lucas Brown has dropped even further down the order after he had that wee off. There seems to be something wrong with his bike. So Lucas Brown comes across the line in 14th, Ollie Horner in 11th, Harrison McKay in 12th, Jeremy Parker 13th, Lucas Brown 14th, and Finnan Werity in 15th. This has been the race 2 for the mini GP50, a fantastic battle. Great battle throughout the entire race there, all the way down to the wire. We are live, radio streaming all online, all over Facebook, Twitter, Twitch as well, YouTube, so you can catch us there. This is Cool Fab Racing. You can catch us on coolfabracing.com. We will be back right after this.
Cool Fab Racing, the official BSB partner series, and on the road to MotoGP.
Listening to live radio coverage online at Cool Fab Racing Facebook page, and a very big hello to Charlie Nesbitt, who's tuned in right now via the grid, who's listening to us, who's starting this race in pole position. This is the Extreme 200s class. Charlie Nesbitt goes from pole position. Richard Holmes Williams will be lining up on 2nd place. In 3rd place is an empty grid slot. It is due to be Richie Turner, but he's not there. Love the sound of these brilliant pit bikes thundering off the start. And Brandon Perrell will start in 4th place, or 3rd by default, by the way of Richie Turner not being there. Cam Harris due to start in 5th place. Josh Ingram in 6th place. Matthew Bolsover in 7th. Jay King in 8th place. Harvey Claridge in 9th. Blake Ansell. I wasn't paying attention to seeing if he was on the grid, but he is due to start in 10th place. Taylor Lawrence in 11th, Felix Hearn in 12th, Liam Fairbrother in 13th, Sean Whittaker in 14th, and Ian Jackson due to begin this race in 15th place. And the race number 1 yesterday saw Charlie Nesbitt beat Richard Holmes Williams from Josh Ingram. They were the top 3. Well, what will happen this race, Liam?
Not sure. It looks like Charlie Nesbitt could be once again dominant. He was dominant towards the end of the race, but Richard Holmes Williams did hound him down for the first few laps. But Blake Ansell Leicester is actually out on track at the moment. He has been having a couple of big problems today, so fingers crossed holds together, because he's been one. In actual fact, looking outside, he's not on the grid, so he has been having those big troubles, and he's not out on the grid. 10th spot where Blake Ansell should be is not been filled up by him, so we're missing a couple of people from the grid. We're missing Richie Turner in 3rd and Blake Ansell in 10th spot, so fingers crossed they can get back out on track a little bit later on. But at the head of the grid is Charlie Nesbitt ahead of Richard Holmes Williams. The green flag is going to go up any second now. It's up. and it's down, and Charlie Nesbitt pulls it back really off the start. He gets a fantastic start ahead of Richard Holmes Williams, and we've got Brandon Pearl into third spot. The yellow Pearl is in third, so Charlie Nesbitt leading the way at the moment ahead of Richard Holmes Williams. Richard Turner is not there, it's Brandon Pearl, Cam Harris in fourth, and Josh Ingram in fifth spot there. So it's a bit of a rivalry going on between Brandon Pearl and Josh Ingram. They both want to really beat each other. We had Josh up here, we had Brandon up here in the commentary box yesterday saying that he wants to launch one down the inside of Josh Ingram on the final lap if he finds him ahead of him at any point this weekend. So we'll see if that holds up. But coming round onto the hanger straight for the start of the final, for the first lap, Charlie Nesbitt looks behind him, finds he's got Richard Holmes Williams all over the back of him, backing it into the final turn is Charlie Nesbitt, still holding the line as come across to complete lap number 1 is Charlie Nesbitt holding the position ahead of Richard Holmes Williams, Brandon Pearl in third spot, Matthew Bolsover in fourth, and Jamie King in fifth. A very good start, Leicester, by Charlie Nesbitt and Richard Holmes Williams.
It was Brandon Pearl who got the fastest first lap, albeit yes, it was the first lap, and Charlie Nesbitt and Richard Holmes Williams almost side by side going into the final corner on that first end of the first lap. But as they come back into our field of vision, they are pretty much still nose to or fairing to fairing, and yeah, it's definitely hotting up, especially as well for the fight for third between Bolsover and Pearl as well, and side by side into the final corner.
It's close. Charlie Nesbitt look behind him coming onto the final straight. He's popping some wheelies as coming across the line in second, but it's Richard Holmes Williams in first spot there. I think Charlie Nesbitt's just having a bit of fun out there, just popping wheelies, looking behind him, back into the final turn. Is he really taking it serious there, Leicester?
I'm sure everybody is taking it very, very seriously, especially when Charlie Nesbitt, he's been known to start races from the back of the field and come through to win the races.
Well, he's up the inside of Richard Holmes there. I think he just pushed him wide. I think he's back into the lead of the race. Sorry to cut you off there, Leicester, but it looks like Charlie Nesbitt might be back into the lead of the race at the bottom end of the circuit, and he is. He's pushed Richard Holmes Williams a little bit wide, so he's back into the lead of the race as they come through onto the hanger straight. I apologize about that. I was looking at the wrong battle there. There's Richard Holmes Williams still ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. I was looking for the battle for third and fourth. It's Brandon Pearl and Matthew Bolsover. Round the outside, Matthew Bolsover just misses out. Brandon Pearl still in third spot there.
Yeah, Pearl was down to fourth coming into the final corner, but he got a better run out of the last corner to retake his third place, and no change up front yet. Charlie Nesbitt, apart from the fact that he's done the fastest lap, still in second place, chasing down Richard Holmes Williams. 0.2 of a second advantage Richard Holmes Williams has at the moment, but that will surely change if Charlie Nesbitt has anything to do with it.
Yeah, they're catching a couple of back markers. As Charlie Nesbitt in first spot now, so he's got past. Yeah, he's got past Holmes Williams somewhere around the circuit there. So as they approach the back marker, it's the number 27 of I think it was Josh Ingram. We've had someone they've caught there. It might be one of the bag markers. So Charlie Nesbitt has just been caught behind him, but he probably will get past him very, very soon. Coming across the line, it's still it's Matthew Bolsover ahead of Brandon Pearl. Not sure if something's happened to Brandon Pearl further around the circuit. He's disappeared.
Yeah, he's dropping down the order.
Jamie King's moved up to fourth. Harvey Claridge is in fifth spot. Ian King sixth. We've got Taylor Lawrence in seventh spot. Felix Hearn eighth. Liam Fairbrother in ninth spot. So Brandon Pearl has been off, or a bike issue has happened to him somewhere around the circuit. I can't see any yellow flags at the moment, so maybe he just pulled into the pits with a bit of an issue, Leicester.
Yeah, it looks like the 146 of Brandon Pearl is still going, so whatever the problem was, he's back on his bike, and he's being caught now by the lead pack.
Yeah, so he's had a bit of an issue somewhere a couple of laps ago, but he's back in the race. That's all that matters. But he is in 12th spot. Charlie Nesbitt still holds the lead of the race from Holmes Williams. We've got a battle coming down into the final turn for the bottom positions of the top 10 at the moment. It's Jamie King and Harvey Claridge battling out there, so watch out for Harvey Claridge. Is looking very menacing behind Jamie King coming into the final corner.
Yeah, Harvey Claridge, British Talent Cup rider, chasing down Jamie King, who is a former pit bike champion in FAB-Racing of 2017, and Charlie Nesbitt, just lapping some of of an unfortunate back marker of Brandon Perrell, who's in between the lead scrap at the moment, but Charlie Nesbitt increasing his gap from second place, who is currently Richard Holmes-Williams.
Yes, absolutely. It looks like Charlie Nesbitt is pulling out a bit of an advantage over Holmes-Williams there. But once again, we've got the battle. It's Harvey Clouds up the inside of Jamie King into the final turn, a little bit wide as it comes out, across the line, side by side, and it's Harvey Clouds into fourth spot. A fantastic manoeuvre by Harvey into the final turn ahead of Jamie King there. So he's been shaping that up for a number of laps now, and he's managed to actually make it stick this time.
Yeah, it did look like they were shaping up to have a little shuffle of positions, but potentially I think Harvey Clare is just biding his time, waiting patiently to mug Jamie King, and that's exactly what he did.
Yes, absolutely. And as we'll look back to the head of the field at the moment, Charlie Nesbitt has opened up a 1.6 second advantage. He was a full second faster than Holmes-Williams on the previous lap there. Matthew Bolsover is sitting pretty in third at the moment, all by himself, a lonely ride, but I think he'll be okay with that since it is third spot. A great battle going on between Harvey Cloud, Jamie King and Ian Jackson for fourth spot there, so it's a very tight battle there. Harvey Cloud across the line, Jamie King sixth, and Ian Jackson coming across just a couple of seconds further back. Taylor Lawrence, so it looks like he's holding stationary a couple of seconds further back from him, so could be closing the gap if anything were to happen, anything messy were to happen in that battle for fourth.
Charlie Nesbitt just coming out of the final corner now,
popping a wheelie across
over the line, and the gap is increasing. It is now 1.9 seconds back to second place Richard Holmes-Williams, with Matthew Bolsover further back. He's not yet crossed the line. He is in third place, or he was in third place.
Yeah, he's just coming along the back straight at the moment. There's
quite a way back.
Quite way back, absolutely. There's a top class of Charlie Nesbitt and Richard Holmes-Williams, and then the rest. But we've got a move from Ian Jackson up the inside of Jamie King into the final turn, and he runs a little bit wide coming at the corner, but across the start finish line, side by side, and it's Ian Jackson ahead of Jamie King into the across the line to start the next lap. So he's moved up to fifth spot ahead of Jamie King. So that's a great wee battle for fourth. Charlie Nesbitt backing it in sideways in front of a back marker into the final turn. Looks at him, pops a wee wheel across the line, and that's him completing another lap. He's just having a bit of fun out there, Lester, isn't he?
Yeah, the last time round is 48.4 second lap, which is, although not his fastest, it's still a lot quicker. It's around 3 or 4 seconds quicker than everybody else is lapping at the moment. And Charlie does have the fastest lap of a 47.4, which around this track is pretty quick.
Yeah, it just seems to be Charlie Nesbitt and Richard Holmes-Williams that seem to be getting into the 40s. But we've got Harvey Clouds dropping back a position from Ian Jackson. Ian Jackson across the line moved up another spot, so that's 2 spots in 2 laps ahead of the British Talent Cup competitor. That is Harvey Clouds. Jamie King still in 6th spot there. We've got Charlie Nesbitt coming across the line once again to start off another lap, just taking the laps off, opening up a commanding lead ahead of Holmes-Williams. That's 2.7 seconds, just getting the back markers out the way nice and easy there. So it's going to be a dominant performance so far by Charlie Nesbitt.
Well, I suspect that maybe, I don't know if he has it in mind to try and lap every single person on the circuit all by a second place, but he's certainly going the right way about it, if that is his target.
It looks like it might be his target. I'm just looking back to the battle between third and fourth. It looks like Ian Jackson, who's now got into fourth spot, is slowly catching Matthew Bolsover for third spot. I'd say it's catching, there's still about a 2 second or 4 second gap between them, so with only 2 laps to go, that's going to be a hard task to try and manage.
And we're looking for other gaps and battles further down the order as Charlie Nesbitt begins his final lap, as some of the other people further down the order are just not even starting their penultimate lap yet. So that's how much Charlie Nesbitt is ahead.
Now we're looking at Richard Holmes-Williams, and he's closed the gap down to 2 seconds on the penultimate lap there, so maybe we might get a fight in our hands, but I just believe that maybe Charlie Nesbitt has backed it off very slightly, got some back markers on the previous lap as well. So looking around the bottom end of the circuit, Charlie Nesbitt has opened up the gap once again at the top of the standings. The field has sort of opened out once again. We've got Harvey Cloud and Jamie King coming through the final turn for 5th and 6th. There's a bit of a battle there, but that seems to be the only one at the moment. As we approach the final turn, it's going to be Charlie Nesbitt as he backs it in very nicely over the line, pops a wheelie. Charlie Nesbitt takes the race win at the Race 2 Extreme 200s Richard Holmes-Williams takes second spot, and we're going to have to wait a while for Matthew Bolsover to come across the line in third position. He approaches the Dell's chicane at the moment, and he's making his way onto the back straight. So here comes Jamie Pearl across the line. He will be taking, Brandon Pearl, sorry, he will be taking 12th spot just behind Josh Ingram. So nearly got him there. So something did happen to Josh Ingram on the circuit throughout the final couple of laps there. But looking further back, we will have Matthew Bolsover approaching the final turn for the final podium position. He comes across the line now, and a well-earned podium position by Matthew Bolsover. He looks very happy with that. Ian Jackson did start closing the gap towards third spot. 3.7 seconds in the line. Harvey Claridge just holds off Jamie King for 5th and 6th. Taylor Lawrence comes across the line in 7th, and then Felix Hearn was 8th, Cam Harris in 9th, and we've got Liam Fairbrother in 10th spot. Josh Ingram 11th, Brandon Pearl, the yellow Pearl, in 12th, Sean Whittaker 13th, and Blake Ansell unfortunately did not start the race, as did not Richie Turner. So fingers crossed they will be able to get out for race number 2 of the day and race number 3 of the weekend. So just remember, the Extreme 200 race 3 will be happening at 3:55 p.m. So once again, it was Charlie Nesbitt, Richard Holmes-Williams, Matthew Bolsover, Ian Jackson, Harvey Claridge, Jamie King in 6th, Taylor Lawrence in 7th, Felix Hearn in 8th, Cam Harris in 9th, and Liam Fairbrother round out the top 10 for the Extreme 200 race number 2.
Thank you very much, Liam Hodgins, for calling that brilliant, epic race. Well, it almost ended up as a bit of a procession for Charlie Nesbitt, but not quite. Richard Holmes-Williams doing good to only finish 3.4 seconds behind, I think. A big hello to everybody tuned in live online. To Gina Bewley, apologies, I keep messing your names up, everybody, so it's what I do. Hello to James Ansell, who's tuned in on his way to Spain at the moment, I believe, so he's helping Max Cook out there at the moment. Don't know if he's might be listening on the plane or something, I suppose, but Steve Long been on, and hello, tuned in anyway, as we get ready for the final race before we go to lunch, which is, and we've saved the best to last, which is the Mini F1 sidecars. And for this race, we are joined by fellow Mini F1 sidecar competitor, albeit without a passenger. It's Russell Morgan.
Albeit without a bike.
A bike even. So explain then why you're not out there today.
Basically, I had engine problems yesterday morning, and there was just no point in trying to fix the motor in time to actually run for this weekend. So it's all been arranged now for Red Lodge in 4 weeks' time. Fair
enough. That's good. And you only live 10 minutes down the road?
I live about 10 or 11 miles from here, so it's pretty simple for me to travel back and forth every day. So I'm sleeping in my own bed.
That is a rarity, as the number 44 sidecar has a bit of trouble. That's Mick Lee not seeming to able to get that going.
Yeah, having trouble selecting his gears. Sorry, Lester, he's having trouble selecting his gears.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes, indeed it was.
It sounds like they've got it started now, and they do, so that's a bit of a shame of third place on the grid, but it's only the warm-up lap, so we've got the running order there. So just a quick reminder of yesterday's top 3. It was Jack Qualters ahead of Mick Williams and Mick Lee.
Yeah, a rare defeat by Jack Qualters of Mick Williams, and well, can he do it again in race number 2? Because Mick Williams will start on pole position for this race. Jack Qualters will get away from 2nd place. Mick Lee in 3rd. Mark Parker will go from 4th place. Simon Ibbotson due to start from 5th. And 6th place, John Hosker. I was never good at maths, don't worry. Adrian Ems starts from 7th, and Paul Qualters Jr. Due to start from 8th place. So is this going to be another landmark race where Mick Williams is dethroned?
Can I just interject there? Apparently, I was talking to Mick earlier on, and apparently his bike found a false neutral of some sort. It leapt off the line and then stopped driving. So,
well, as I said, should
we sabotage his bike for every meeting so we make it closer racing?
Yeah, I mean, he did set the fastest lap of the race in the final lap yesterday, so maybe he can give us all a little bit of hope by maybe doing the same thing again off the start in race 2.
Well, I did speak to Mick again, as I say, this morning. Sorry, they're about to start, so I'll just shut up.
Yeah, so we've got all the riders on the start. The green flag is down, and today no issues for Mick Williams as he get a fantastic start off the start of the grid ahead of Jack Walters, and Mick Lee drops back a couple of positions into 5th spot. So we've got Mark Parker and Simon Ibbotson, into the top 4 there.
So the sidecar fails to, or just now gets going off the grid at the very back. Didn't see who that was. Do you know who that was, Russell?
It looks like I can't actually see who it is.
Someone.
It's up.
I think it may have been
Paul Senior, Junior.
Yeah, so as they come
confusing.
around, we don't know the bikes yet because there's too many of them. So
not enough on the sidecars, I'm afraid.
As they come through the end of towards the end of the final lap, first lap, sorry, I keep saying the final lap, but it looks like Mick Williams is side by side action. Mick Williams holds the lead ahead of Jack Walters at the moment, so Jack Walters hounding the back of Mick Williams through the first couple of laps there. We've got some debris pushing off the side of the circuit, so I don't think it's from any of the bikes at the moment. We've got Mick Lee pulling into the pits. Unfortunately, whatever the problem was with that bike, it seems to be terminal, and they're pulling into the pits. So fingers crossed they can get back out for race number 3 later on today. So how's that looking, Russell, so far at the start of this race?
Well, it's looking pretty good to me. It's a shame really that Jack couldn't stay in front for a couple of laps. Unfortunately, Mick got past him in the long straight. Obviously he's got slightly more power, which is a shame really, because I mean Jack is giving him a good race.
Yeah, he's got a good run onto the back straight at the moment, down towards Raymond's hairpin, but it looks like Mick Williams does have a couple of bike lengths advantage. He does, so it's going to be quite difficult, Russell, for Jack to actually make up ground.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to make it back on Mick now. Mick's into a bit of a rhythm. We do have Mark Parker in 3rd place, but we got Mick Lee is pushing to get into a 3rd, so I can see Mick Lee getting past Mark Parker. If not this lap, definitely the next one. Yeah,
I did say that Mick Lee pulled into the pits, but in actual fact it was John Hosker, so Mick Lee is still in the race, so whatever happened at the start there doesn't seem to be too much of a problem there. So apologies to Mick Lee for that one there. But you said Mick Williams does have a bit more power in his car than...
I don't know that he has actually, or if it's just, maybe a bit lighter sidecar rider and a bit lighter rider. It can make so much difference. You're restricted to 26 brake horsepower. So the lighter the weight, obviously the faster you can go.
So the more you can shed off the weight is obviously going to be a lot better for the riders.
I'm on a big diet, mate.
and preparation for round at number 2 in a few weeks' time. But as they come across the line, it's going to be Mick Williams who's opened up a bit more of a gap. Fastest lap of the race to Mick Williams at 56.1, but only a tenth quicker than Jack Walters. It looks like Mick Lee's got 3rd spot ahead of Mark Parker, so we've missed that somewhere around that lap somewhere. So we could maybe see Mick Lee catching the top 2. Are you seeing any likelihood of that?
I don't think the race is long enough for Mick Lee to actually make a good enough run onto Jack. I mean, it'd be nice to see a little bit of a battle going on, but I don't think there's enough time. I think it's only 6 laps, isn't it, for this race?
Yeah, there's only 3 more laps to go. 2.5 laps left. The leaders are catching the back of the field, so it's Paul Junior Walters who's getting caught by the race leaders. He pulled out of the way. I don't know if he's going to be pulling into the pits, but saying that, Mick Williams does look like he's getting reeled back in by Jack Walters, so this could be a fast lap of the race to Jack. A bit of sideways action from Mick Williams coming through at the final turn across the start finish line there, and it's they've both had quite slow laps, a 57.1 to Mick Williams and Jack Walters at 57.0, but the gap has come down to 0.8 of a second. Is there quite a lot of scope for tyre conservation in this race, Russell?
No, not really. We're all running Vega whites this time of the year, so that it's about as sticky as you can get them. Mick does tend to be a bit hard on his tyres anyway. That's the way his riding style is, but you shouldn't have any problems with tyre degradation right the way through the race.
Yeah, he does seem to be sliding it through the corners a little bit more than the rest of them do.
That is his style.
The go faster, go slider, go faster way to drive a sidecar. So Mick Williams makes his way along into Raymond's hairpin for the penultimate time of asking in the sidecar, mini F1 sidecar action. As you can see, sliding it through the final turn. Jack Walters looks like he's dropping back slightly, and a 56.1 again. So whatever happened in the last lap, it was just a little bit of a hiccup on Mick Williams' side.
I think they were actually doing an overtake, so I think maybe Mick got through a bit quicker than Jack did.
Right, okay, so there may be a couple of bag markers getting it, holding up the leaders a little bit, but as the final lap of the race, Mick Williams holds a 1.2 second advantage over Jack Walters. Mick Lee is sitting pretty in third, 2.3 seconds ahead of Mark Parker. Simon Ibbotson in fifth. We've got Adrian Ems in sixth spot, and Paul Walters Jr. is in seventh spot at the moment, and unfortunately John Hosker is out of the race and in the pit. So coming on to the back straight now, it looks like we've got Mick Williams with a comfortable advantage as they head to the final turn. Raymond's hairpin, and we come through the final turn, and it's going to be win number one of the weekend, and for Mick Williams across the line, takes the race win. Jack Walters in second spot, so 1 win apiece, 1 second apiece for Jack Walters and Mick Williams into this weekend's mini F1 sidecar action. Mick Lee comes through the final turn and is going to hold off Mark Parker for a third spot and a final podium position. Mark Parker in fourth, and we're waiting for the rest of the runners and riders to come through the final couple of corners. So Simon Ibbotson, Adrian Ems and Paul Walters Jr. How was that race for you, Russell?
That was brilliant. You still must remember that Adrian Ems is still running with the slip disc this today.
Yeah, so I was hoping you would mention that at some point.
Yeah, unfortunately the radio link went down last night, didn't it? When we were trying to speak. So yeah, he's running with the slip disc, and his wife is passenger in for him, and she's not well. She's been suffering from this flu bug that's been going around. So, you know, we've got a right crew there. Yeah,
a couple of trippers in the Adrian Ems camp, so fingers crossed they will be fighting fit and ready for round number 2 and won't be doing themselves too much more damage in the rest of this weekend's action. So a quick rundown of the finishing positions of the mini F1 sidecar action. It's Mick Williams taking spoils in race number 2 this weekend, Jack Walters in second spot, Mick Lee in third, Mark Parker in fourth place, Simon Ibbotson in fifth, Adrian Ems putting in a brave performance with a slip disc in his bag, and Paul Walters Jr. in seventh spot. Unfortunately, John Hosker didn't make it round past lap number 1. So we will be back a little bit later on. We're going for a little bit of lunch now. Just remember, this is a live radio coverage of Cool Fab Racing in association with Motorsport Radio as well, so make sure you get back with us at 2 o'clock for the start of races number 3, starting off with the mini GP70. So a bit of lunch right now, and we will be back at 2 o'clock. So once again, live radio coverage. This is Cool Fab Racing.
Thank you very much, Liam Hodgins, and to Russell Morgan for joining us in the commentary box for the second mini F1 sidecar race, and we'll love to see him back in the paddock at the second round this season at Red Lodge. So this is live racing action all season long, and we will just pause now for lunch, as we have lots more racing action still to come when we come back at 2 o'clock live online and here at the paddock at Llandow at the South Wales Kart Circuit. We'll begin with the Mini GP70's final race of the weekend, followed by the AC40 Pros, Pit Bike 140 and Moto teams, and Junior LC40 Elites after that. So we'll hopefully be joined once again by Blake Ansell later on commentary. And Liam, well done this morning. Good job, just have to say that.
Oh, thanks very much. It's been a strenuous morning, but I've been enjoying it so far, and well, it's only weekend number 1. There's another 7 to go after this one, and I'm looking forward to continuing on this amazing journey of Cool Fab Racing, and joining you and of course Chris
not over yet,
McCartney and Ed Hocknell in the commentary box throughout the season, and of course getting better.
Exactly, yes. So we will be back. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much to everybody's comments who has flooded in on our various live streams that we've had so far. Thank you very much, and do share the next stream, because I get the feeling that the next round of races might be the best of the weekend. We'll be back shortly.
There's loads of ways to follow the racing this season. Tune in live on the Cool Fab Racing Facebook page, on Twitter and on YouTube. Listen on motorsport.radio and on coolfabracing.com.